Welcome to the Real Monica Adams Show. Thank you again for all that have been tuned in for the last several months. And for those of you that are brand new, we were thrilled to have you. Let us always know how you found the show. Did somebody turn you on to it? Did you organically find it? Have you been following me for 30 years in TV and radio? And you're like, hey, that's what she's up to. Yes, I left television back in January. It was time to bring a little positivity to the world. For so many years, waking you up with the news and giving you some education and sprinkling in the positivity. It was time to take it to a grander stage and to a bigger level. You've heard me for years talk about positivity, motivation, inspiration, and bringing you all the things that I love, and hopefully we connect in life. If you followed me in TV, I'm very big into fashion and fitness, my two greatest loves. And so I'm thrilled today to have on a true role model in the industry of fashion. I'm sure you've heard of her, Rebecca Minkoff. She's on the shelves everywhere, retailers all around. Do you think it was easy? No, it was not easy. It was all about the grit, the integrity. And, people try to push you in a corner and say you can't be something. I've told you about that before. Never let that happen. We're going to talk with Rebecca Minkoff for the next half hour, and I hope you see yourself in this story. First of all, let me bring her on. Rebecca, it is so great to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
For those that don't know you, let's just kind of let's take them back. I love this because this is what I want people to understand. You have taken on challenges that maybe you additionally, maybe years ago would have said, depending on the age you were at, okay, I'll let someone squash my dreams. And then you got more and more of, no, I've got the grit, I've got the integrity. You talk about overcoming fear and trials that female entrepreneurs often face. Young girls being bullied and told they couldn't be something. You're going to talk about bullying that you went through. And you talk about breaking the rules and finding success in places that other people might previously have thought to be inaccessible. So a fashion empire through hard work and a relentless drive to live Rebecca's dream. Maybe you know her from The Shirt or the Morning After bag. And now it's this brand. But take us back, Rebecca. It was not easy. I love the fact that people just look at these big names and go, oh, they probably were given money. It was gifted to them. That wasn't your life.
No, definitely not. I think everything I wanted in life, I had to work for. It was a mantra in my house. How are you going to earn it? And when it came to deciding to launch and start up my own company, I worked for designer for several years. It was, there was no going to anybody. There was my dad co-signing on a credit card that I had to pay for.
Mhm.
And honestly, that's how I kind of leveraged the first couple of years of business, was leaning on that line of credit. But I think the thing that was taught to me early on, and how you're going to make it, teaches you how to build something, and it teaches you the resilience of no one's handing you anything. So how do you go out and get it?
Mhm. Well, right. And there's so many things. I've got so much that I love from your book. By the way, we're going to talk about this book, and you can go and see Rebecca in St. Louis at the Jewish Book Festival. This is fearless. I mean, just think of that word alone. The new rules for unlocking creativity, courage, and success. It's funny, Rebecca, you say, am I a rebel? Okay, if you want to call me a rebel, maybe, but it's just these were the rules that weren't working for me, so I decided to break them.
Yeah, I think that we have seen, and I believe firmly this applies to any industry, but we have seen so many things that are, if you do this, it yields this result. And if you want to be successful, this is the path. And in my case, a lot of those rules weren't working, from just the early days of leveraging technology. You weren't supposed to do that. Talking to influencers, bad idea, using social media, dirty and beneath you, like all these things. We were supposed to follow certain rules, advertise in a magazine, and let the wholesalers sell your product. And so I think for us, the only way we broke through was by breaking these old rules. And so I wanted to kind of define what are the new rules for success, and how do you take those inside a business and outside into your personal life? Because I think a lot of them can apply to both.
Absolutely. And Rebecca, I love, there's so much in this book that I saw myself in. I had so many people say, I've been talking to a lot of people on the show. They're like, hey, we ordered it already. My sister-in-law got it on audio and she's like, have you started it yet? I said, yes. And she's like, I'm well into it. And you're going to see yourself so much in this book. It's crazy. Like you two could be twins. And I was like, I can't wait to read this. And I love the fact when you go back and you talk in the beginning about growing up in California and you love it. And then all of a sudden it's like this whole world is ripped and in a young part of your life. And you go to Florida and you've got these big dreams of, oh, we're going to be on the beach. And this is not what I was told oh, this is not the deck of cards that I had. I mean, that was a wake-up call, wasn't it?
It was a huge wake up call. I think, as a child, and I've learned this as a mother, like having a stable plan of action, even if it's the stable plan is we're going to be incredibly unstable,
Yeah.
is what children need. And for me, I sort of had planned my whole life, and I knew what it was going to be when we were San Diego based, and then to move into this strange town, no friends, nothing, not what my dad kind of sold me on, was really, really hard. And it took me many years of therapy to get over it. So it wasn't until I had kids myself that I was like, oh, I see why he chose this place, because it's a great place to raise kids. So, um,
What did it most what did
full
it most
circle.
teach you?
What?
What did it most teach you?
I think that it taught me, it was the first really hard thing that I had to experience. And I think we are living in a patty cake society where, everyone gets the A plus and everyone gets the award and no one is behind. And life is really hard, and there are going to be a lot of times where you need to learn that resilience. Your business idea doesn't work, or something failed, or something dramatic happened. You have to be able to bounce back. So being able to come back from that while it wasn't instantaneous, really, really taught me that you have to be more resilient and stronger.
If you're just tuning in, once again, it's the Real Monica Adams Show, and we're talking with fashion designer, entrepreneur, social activist, Rebecca Minkoff. Her book, Fearless. She's going to be in St. Louis at the Jewish Book Festival. And that's another thing, Rebecca. You go in San Diego, then you go to Florida, and you've got all these friends, you're going along, you get to Florida and you say, we're the only Jewish family for miles and miles and miles. And boy, this is such not what I signed up for. And then you were bullied, right? So let's talk about the bullying aspect. Let's talk about doors slamming in your face, because that's what I want people to hear. That no matter, like you said, no matter what industry we're in, no matter what family we're in, I want them to see themselves of, oh, Rebecca said that. I've been through that. And then here she is defying the odds and becoming everything she's ever wanted to become.
Yeah, so I think bullying now has been something in society that has been talked about far more openly than it was in my generation. But I was a really skinny, scrawny girl. And, I think to be bullied for that and made fun of for that was really hard. I couldn't fit into clothing that you'd buy in the mall. And I feel like one thing that really helped me is when I did learn to sew and I could alter the clothes to fit me, that gave me an incredible amount of confidence. And it sort of, took something that could have been so negative that I could have wallowed in and said, right, I'm going to make sure that at least I look good and I fit the clothing and they're not falling off of me. And just being able to create, so while I went through my period of being ostracized and no one was my friend, I was sewing, I was creating, I was making outfits. And so that filled that area of me that could have felt so hollow and so alone.
Let me look at some of my notes. One of the things that I love is the shout outs that you give when you look at in school, right? An art teacher. The fact that, you're going through and it's not just in class, then there was this opportunity to learn deeper from this particular person. And then you've got all these people that are placed in your life. And sometimes we miss those when we're not present, right? We're not focused. We miss where the true role models are.
I mean, role models are all around you.
Mhm.
And, people talk about, I just need a mentor. Your mentor is not going to solve anything for you. There are these guides that are all around you, or people that are giving you these snippets that it's yours to sort of take and weave, if you will, your own path.
Right.
I think really we need sponsors. We need people who you can ask a very specific question to. You know exactly what you need from them and you ask it. You don't say, can we sit down and have coffee and let me pick your brain? No,
Right.
don't do that. It's like, I need a factory. I need a wholesale introduction. I need whatever it is. And I think sponsorship goes a lot further, because the idea of mentorship, I also feel, has become, they're going to hand me this on a silver platter and suddenly I'm going to get my dream job, my dream whatever, because someone mentored me.
Absolutely. So the people who think they're entitled, the people who don't want to do the hard work, they don't want to do the late nights that you did. They don't want to have, oh, I'm only making minimum wage. Oh, I'm going to do an internship. It's not going to cost me, or it's not going to pay me anything. I don't sign up for that. Talk to that mentality.
I think that there needs to be a mentality of we are so used to instant gratification, as you mentioned, with frankly these things, that give us anything we want in within 15 minutes,
Yep.
that you, I think, approach your career the same way.
Mhm.
You think that you can work somewhere for 3 months or get the VP title after a year. And I think the one area of life where there isn't instant gratification is your career. It takes hard work. It takes the long look. It takes strategy and sort of planning of where you want to be. And you can either quietly quit and just go to work as the thing that pays you and coast, I guess. I don't see that working long term.
No.
Or work really hard, work really strategically and diligently, and know that your path is 10 years for success, not 3, not 2, and sometimes not 5.
Absolutely. Once again, Rebecca Minkoff is my guest, and we're going to talk about one of the things you talk about is, hey, am I a rebel? Well, my goal is to quote unquote get shit done. Hard work, late nights, sacrifice, well worth it. $100 million in sales over the last 15 years. The most stylish women wearing her designs. The famous, and I love the fact that you say, so is the should be famous. The people who really should be out there. We're going to have more with Rebecca Minkoff, and I'm going to talk about point of view being everything. The fact that she developed this 5-piece collection, depleted her savings. It was like a door slammed in your face. Do you just give up? Or what is within you to fuel you to keep on going? We're going to have more with Rebecca when we return. Envita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Envita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Envita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Envita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online envitahealthandwellness.com. Welcome back to the Real Monica Adams Show. So thrilled to have Rebecca Minkoff on with us again. Fearless, the name of the book. I want you to get it, and I want you to see her in St. Louis. You're going to be here on November, is it 8th? It's a women's night, November 8th at the Jewish Book Festival. Have you been to St. Louis, by the way?
I have, but it's been, oh gosh, it's been probably 10 years since I've been to St. Louis.
Well, welcome back. We're thrilled to have you again. Can't wait for you to be here. I went into the break talking about one of the rules you have. Rule number 5, I loved. Point of view is everything, and look for the opportunities in front of you. Go a little bit deeper into that.
I think that I always call them opportunity tentacles because I'm constantly trying to figure out how can I make the most out of a situation that I'm in and or contacts that I have. So when I walk into a room and I'm like, if I'm going to leave my kids tonight for work,
Yeah.
how many business cards, not really anymore, but who am I coming away with as contacts and what can I do with this person or what can I give to this person? So I think that has sort of guided me. When I first started out, I'd come home and literally count business cards like they were cash, like who do I meet tonight that could be an opportunity?
Yeah.
And I think it's getting quick on your feet to see what that person needs and what you need, and is that a fit? Does that lock up?
Absolutely.
And there's so much that can be done, and you can't be afraid to ask. And you know what? If you have to practice. Find a group of people you can practice with until it's easy to say, oh, cool, I met the producer from Good Morning America the other night. Great. What segments are you doing and how can I be a part of it? And I don't blink, I'm just like, oh, maybe we could do this. And so it's constantly sort of practicing the ask, identifying the need with that person, and then not forgetting that it's not just all about take. It's what can I do for you? How can I help you?
Oh, yes.
Because it is a two-way street.
Oh my gosh, we say this so much, Rebecca. One of the things I've taught my clients that I life coach is when you go to a party, you're going to an event, I don't care, you've got holidays coming up. Do you walk into the room and say, what can I get from everyone else? Or what can I give? What can I provide to that room? Or what can I provide to the world? Really, that's what it's about. And don't ever forget the people who gave you a leg up.
Never. That is the one big mistake you can make. It's The people that never kind of make it, or they again they hit a ceiling that they can't get through, is the people that never pay it forward.
I love, and I don't want to give, I mean, there's so much, and you should see all the notes I took, Rebecca. There's so much about this book that I don't want to give away because I want you all to get the book. I want you to see her in person. But I love this particular, and I want you all to listen to this. I love this particular part of one of the rules, and that is she asked for it. You know, here's the deal: you take an internship, you kind of get a leg up, you get introduced to somebody, you move from where you are because you want to be in the design scene. You go to New York, you go to somebody that you don't even know the background of whatever this designer is even part of. Then you go through life, you get this opportunity with someone, they give you a break, and then you don't really know a lot of people. She invites you to her home for Christmas, which is huge. You take that, and you could have been so shy, so introverted, but you asked for what you wanted. You get it, but the end result of what your boss did that you didn't see coming, I think, is such a pivotal point of the book.
Well, we can't tell it here. We have to read the book to find out.
It's huge. That's right. It's huge, and I think it's so powerful because so many doors are shut on us. And I look back at my 30 years in the media industry, Rebecca, and there's times where I was like, God, I fought and fought and fought for, hey, I want to do this. Why wouldn't someone give me the opportunity? Okay, go ask for it. So I shifted from Fox to NBC, went to NBC, and just in January, it was here. We're going to give you another 3-year deal. And my value was, I'm not going to accept that. That's a gut punch. What do I do with it? Oh, Monica, you're being gifted, the greatest gift of your life. Go launch your brand. And I started something, Rebecca, which is all about knowing your value. I know my value. I'm teaching it to everybody else. And we actually started a little bit of this, of a workout line of clothes that literally say Monica Adams collection, know your value. And forever you're wearing the mantra of knowing your value. And I was like, I have no idea where this is going, but it's sprinkling it in all because we decided to ask for it. Right. And you're right. My sister-in-law is right. I see so much of me in this book that I'm so glad you put it out. And I don't want to give it all away, but there's some powerful lessons that are in it. What do you think's the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway you want people to have after they read this?
I think that when you see the title, that might turn people off. And it's like, well, I'm not going to read this book and be fearless, right? The goal isn't that you finish that and that is what occurs. It's that you're still scared and you do it anyways. You sort of say, what is the worst thing that can happen to me if I take that risk?
Yeah.
And I think if people start reframing and living their lives like, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? And they sort of confront what that is, as long as it's not endangering someone else, yourself, putting you at risk, homeless, right?
Yep.
Unable to pay a bill, right? There's obviously big risks that, like, if it did go south, you can't take. But most people, right, aside from those, could take the risk, and who knows what would happen and where would their life be as a result. And so the real goal is like, here are the rules that can set me up, that even though I'm taking this risk, I know I have some stable things I can apply in my life to make sure that I pull off the win.
One of the things that I found so interesting, I have a friend here that does my hair, and she actually was just brought to New York Fashion Week, and then she was asked to come back and lead, and she's going to Paris. I think she's going to be going to Milan as well, and she's giving me all this feedback and showing me all these things, and I'm sitting here reading you talk about, okay, I wanted to break the rules. Everybody's out there showing what's maybe coming up in 6 months, giving the opportunity for knockoffs, giving the opportunity for, well, I don't want that anymore. And you're like, okay, it became this thing where everybody else might be showing fall, but I'm in right now. My colors are looking different. And you get that opportunity. That's a great rule break.
Oh yeah, I mean, and we were told we were crazy and no one would do it, and we just thought, I think there's something to be said about all the eyeballs that you have, especially during a fashion week, where people want that instant gratification, and if we can provide it, it's great, and it has a whole host of other benefits, whether it's selling through your inventory, you're riding on the winds of these fashion weeks that have all this promotion and marketing behind it,
Mhm.
and it's more sustainable too because you're getting sold through on items that otherwise might not be and could sit there and be dead stock. And there's a whole other angle to it that's really helpful as well.
Once again, Rebecca Minkoff, my guest, fashion designer, entrepreneur. The name of the book again is Fearless. You have family really deep into your business. And it's interesting when we look at trust around us, we look at bouncing ideas off of people. Did you ever see your brother being a part of this?
if someone would have told me when I was 3 years old, also being bullied by him, mind you, that he would be my business partner, never in a million years. But we did find a way to get along in our teenage years, and he recently exited the business when we got sold last year. But having that person that you can count on day in and day out was critical to the growth of the business and its success. And having that person who's in it as much as you, that's also happened to be blood, so you were brought up with the same work ethic and dedication, was also really nice.
Well, and your father as well. And I think this is a really important point to get across also. Some people younger, we all look back when we were in high school and we go into college maybe, and we say, well, maybe if my parents gave me this opportunity, or maybe this person in this role, if they paid for this for me. I think one of the greatest lessons from this book is, yes, they helped you to a point, but then they also were teaching, like, hey, we're wanting you to have the grit. Where will you go with that? So it's not just being gifted to you.
No, and I think when you see people that are gifted things, their desire to make it or figure it out or work harder for it. Just look at, like, take the holidays when children are gifted an obnoxious amount of gifts.
Yep.
You actually can watch the child go from excitement down to like apathy slash kind of insanity around that, right?
Right.
And I think in life, it's like, no, you got to make it. You got to earn it. Where's the chore chart? Where's the earnings? We had a ledger in my house growing up, and I have a similar one in my house now for my kids. Like, okay, you want it, earn it. How are you going to do it?
Yes.
And get them to contribute. And that to me, builds resilience, it builds strength, and it builds I have to figure it out.
You had so many moments like, oh wow, this person knows this person, and here's a celebrity, and these shirts, right? I love New York, the timing of it all after 9/11, and then somebody sees it on the Tonight Show and you're like, oh, have I made it? Oh, there for a little while. Okay, boom. Then you have sample sale. Then you're getting direct feedback from your audience. What a phenomenal thing for you to do. The up and down of life, right? The pebbles, the boulders that happen in life, the high of the high, and boom, the crashing again. What do you tell people in any level of business, Rebecca, to say, okay, don't enjoy it for too long because it might be taken away, but then how do you get back up to the top of the mountain?
So I think that if you begin to look at happiness, is you can't say my goal is happiness.
Right.
I think you'll find that the most happy you have been in your life is when you've overcome an obstacle towards a goal.
Mhm.
And that is going to be the up and the down. And it's when you're on your way on that up that is that happiness. You get to the top and you're like, okay, cool. I thought that'd be harder or easier, or I thought I'd feel happier. But if you go look back, that happiness was on the way up. You were achieving, a known goal that you had. And so we wouldn't know what that is without the down. If everything was always great, you'd be bored out of your mind. Just as like, if everything was always terrible, you'd probably feel like shit. Sorry, feel like
No,
crap.
don't be, don't be.
And so I think it is that, that up and down roller coaster that you just have to hope is always at an angle. If you put a ruler against it, it's on a trajectory that's going up.
Right. Once again, Rebecca Minkoff, we're going to take one more quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about following your gut instinct and going for it, right? Asking for what you want. More with Rebecca when we return. Hi, it's Monica Adams. Thank you so much for following along with The Real Monica Adams Show since we launched back in March. But I wanted to let you know there's so much more that I could do with you, your business, your corporation. Did you know that I'm a motivational speaker all around the world, as well as an MC and an auctioneer? So if you have an event, maybe a nonprofit organization, and you want to book me, just shoot me an email, info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Personal training, life coaching, and styling as well. Info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Welcome back again. We're wrapping things up with Rebecca Minkoff. The name of the book, look it up, Fearless, and then mark it on the calendar to get tickets to see her in St. Louis at the Jewish Book Festival. This is going to be great. So trusting your gut instinct and going for it, Rebecca, asking for it. So all too often, I think we miss the whispers and we're waiting for the gut punch.
You have to trust your gut. There's a reason why there's a lot of nerve endings there. Some some might say that more than your brain. And I think that if you are a founder and you've set out on a journey and you have your North Star, it really is your gut and your sort of inner knowingness if you're making the right decisions and on the right path.
Yeah.
And yes, you can have people that are smarter than you and have more degrees than you, but I think, there's taking that into account,
Mhm.
and then there's knowing what's truly right. And so um, sometimes it's you alone in a room going, what do I want for my life and myself, and are these the right people to listen to? And the sirens outside my door in New York City.
Those are messages. It's like shouting, yes, go with that. Feel the passion.
Oh my gosh, never ends here.
So, again, I want you all to look back into the shirt, the morning after bag. But since then, there's so much feedback, so much you've learned from the early days. What are you most proud of right now in your designs?
I think that we undertook uh, a Herculean effort to really shift the brand perception, the narrative, and the product over the last 3 years. And you're seeing it happen now in real time. And it's a modern vision of what I started almost 20 years ago. And it's taken an incredibly talented team and a lot of hard work, but we're here. So, prior to this, I was in a marketing meeting where we showed, everything we're marketing for holiday and talking about. And I was just really proud of, like, wow. I used to sometimes in the past, there'd be things that I'd cringe at and be like, oh, I can't believe that's our brand. Ooh, I don't like that. And now I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And I want to be a part of it.
I'm so excited. I love your passion. Your book is phenomenal.
Thank
Again,
you.
take it from me, everybody. You followed me for a long, long time, and I know you respect my word. If I'm saying this is a book you need to get for yourself and then pass it along, let others be fearless along with Rebecca. Rebecca Minkoff, again, one more time. The name of the book is Fearless. And then maybe grab some friends, girlfriends, grab your partners, kids, anybody that needs to learn this lesson. The new rules for unlocking creativity, courage, and success. Rebecca, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me. And thanks for reading the book and being so supportive. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so very much. Again, we'll have more of the Real Monica Adams Show when we return. Think about this. When's the last time you called your doctor at 2 o'clock in the morning and he actually answered? Well, at Innovair Health Advocates, their patients are special. Their doctors, nurse practitioners, their care team care deeply about your health, your family, your work, and even your pet. Their clinicians are accessible and they lead your care in and out of the hospital. In fact, Dr. Charles Willie offers his cell phone number to his patients to ensure they can intervene early in your illness. They can provide care above and beyond, offering lab, x-ray, echocardiogram, and other treatments in their office. Innovair Health Advocates with 5 locations on both sides of the river. Check them out, innovairhealth.com. And welcome back to the Real Monica Adams Show. Wasn't that fun? What an incredible interview with Rebecca Minkoff, one of many authors that will be at the Jewish Book Festival. Actually, she'll be part of Wednesday night, so that will be great. Get your tickets for that. Again, her book, Fearless, and Rebecca Minkoff. Now you're seeing an incredible human being that you've probably seen on NBC. I worked for the NBC affiliate in St. Louis for 3 years, so we watched him several times on the Today Show. More recently, with everything that's happening, again, on the Gaza Strip with Hamas and Israel. And we'll talk about the real world things that are happening right now. But let me give you a little background about this author and this wonderful human being. This is Martin Fletcher, full career with BBC, Reuters, and NBC News, during which he won almost every television journalism award, including 5 Emmys. Martin Fletcher embarked upon his lifelong dream to write books. His second book, Walking Israel, won the National Jewish Book Award for nonfiction, and his sixth, Promised Land, was a finalist in the fiction category. He is the only author to be honored in both categories. Martin and his beloved wife divide their time between the U.S., Mexico, and Israel, and we're going to talk about his newest book. It's called Teachers, The Ones I Can't Forget. And are we talking about teachers in grade school, high school, college? No, we're talking about the teachers that come in the places that you would never think they would come, and in all ages. Martin Fletcher, it is an honor to have you on our show.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you so much. We're going to get to your book, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about what's going on in the world right now. I've seen a lot of your recent reports that you've had on the Today Show. I also want to start with, this has been going on now for several weeks, and what I don't want to talk about on the show is the day in and day out things that are happening. We know the bloodshed is there. We know the hatred is there. But this show, Martin, is all about what can we do? Where's the disconnect? What can we do as human beings? For you and all the war coverage that you've had, what is the disconnect?
Well, I think the disconnect is that both sides have never really been committed to making peace with each other. Each side's got its own interest. The Israelis basically, over many governments, and especially the present one, want to settle more land in the West Bank. The Palestinians on the other side, especially Hamas, they don't want peace with Israel. They want to destroy Israel. So the disconnect is that the leadership of both sides has not seriously been pursuing peace, although I believe that the people on both sides, if they were given a peace deal tomorrow, maybe today's a bit different because of Gaza, actually, but until the Gaza invasion, I would have said, if you put a peace deal on the table, 2/3 of Israelis, 2/3 of Palestinians would just accept the peace deal. They've had it up to here with the conflict. But now the Gaza invasion and massacre of Israelis, I think it changes a lot for the time being anyway.
Well, and those that are turning on the news or, they're listening or they're watching, Martin, and they're hearing what's playing out right now, we're not talking about something that just recently fueled and came up. These are centuries of issues that have been festering and boiling and then erupting. And where does it stop?
Well, that's a great question, Monica, because, so much of the focus is on Israel's occupation and the state of Israel versus the Palestinians, whereas the actual problem has been between Jews and Arabs, as you say, for hundreds of years. And as a matter of fact, probably since Muhammad died in 632 AD. In the Quran already then it was written, kill the Jews behind the trees and the stones. And there's many quotations like that. So the Arab-Jewish enmity has been going on for a long time. I mean, for 1,400 years. So Israel is just, is a blip in the ocean of the hatred that Muslims show to Jews. I don't think Jews hate Muslims particularly. I mean, they have no reason to. They were always the minority getting persecuted everywhere. Israel's now a strong country and is able to defend itself, we believe, until the massacre on the 7th of October. So yeah, it's been going on for a long time. And will this war lead to some kind of movement towards peace? One can hope that both sides will be so desperate after the war that maybe there will be some understanding that it's over and they've got to make peace somehow.
Well, then there's also the people here in the United States that are fearing, saying, if we step up, we're an ally, we play a part in this, then what happens to us? That's where a lot of the fear is right now, don't you believe?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's a fair question too. I mean, America is a separate country from Israel. Israel's a long way away. So there's always the question, why are we behind Israel so solidly? Personally, I think there are some very good reasons, but at the same time, it's a fair question. And if the war becomes a wider war, which we're all fearing, because really that area of the world is on the abyss, on the edge of a much wider conflict, which would draw American military in, if not, and hope not boots on the ground, but the forces that America has in the region. So yeah, it's a real fear of getting involved in a war that doesn't directly concern America, except that it concerns the American values and American allies and American commitments.
Martin, how many weeks are we into this war right now?
I think it's 24 days. Is that right? I mean, from the day we're talking,
3-4 weeks.
3.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks. And bear one thing in mind: the entire Yom Kippur War in 1973 only lasted for 3 weeks. And the real fighting is only just beginning.
Yes. Well, and that's kind of where I was going with that, is here we are, it's in its infancy, but do we see an end in sight? I mean, here you are covering this, you've covered many. Where do you put this in your coverage?
Oh, this is by far actually the 1973 war was existentialist for Israel. It threatened Israel's very existence in the first few days. When Egypt and Syria surprised Israel on Yom Kippur, October the 6th, 1973. Israel was taken by surprise, and Egypt and Syria made very rapid, serious advances into into towards Israel, into Israeli territory. Um, so that was a real threat to Israel's existence. What's happening today is horrific in the barbarity of the Hamas attack on Israeli civilians. So that we've never seen before. Certainly, that was the worst day in Jewish history since the Holocaust, in terms of people massacred and killed and slaughtered and tortured and all the other horrible things that happened on that one day. So that's the worst day, but I would say it's not the worst threat to Israel. That was in 73. But this can become a much wider threat if everybody on the edges of Israel joins in the war, which is a potential threat. And that's why America's involved, to stop them.
Well, and once again, let me reintroduce my guest, Martin Fletcher, very well known with BBC, Reuters. Maybe you've seen his coverage on NBC, and thank you for everything you've done. And the people that you have met in some of the darkest places, which we'll talk about in Teachers in just a second. I do want you to pull it a little bit closer, though. You have family members that were hostages that were released in this.
Yeah, amazingly, the first two hostages to be released were two of the members of my family, and they're not close family, kind of weddings and funerals kind of family. Yeah, they were the two who were released, Natalie and Judith. It's extraordinary. In fact, their families are in the United States right now, trying to persuade people in America to help release their other family members, because although those two family members were released, the first to be released, the family's not celebrating. Three more of our members of our family were killed on that day, and seven more are still being held hostage. So although we were celebrating, in a sense, the release of two, there's a lot more to go, and so many, many families in the same situation.
Well, and I don't think, can we really celebrate? There's so much bloodshed, so much divide, so much hatred, that it's love and a sense of relief to have your loved ones back home. But then that, the darkness settles in of what has taken place and the unknown of what could.
Yes, and also people ask what happened to, how are they, the two who've been released? And the answer is, I don't know. They're not talking to anybody beyond their immediate close family. They didn't come back. They're American citizens. They live in America, Evanston, Illinois, but they didn't come back yet to America. You'd think they would get on the first plane out of Dodge, but they're in fact living quietly with their immediate family somewhere in Israel. And I suppose they're trying to process the trauma they went through. Don't forget, it was two women. One was a beautiful young teenager in the hands of these people, and we've seen what they're capable of. So who knows what happened? And I guess they're emotionally going through a period of, I don't know what, and I'm not like withdrawal, of trying to deal with the trauma. I suppose they don't want to come back to America yet because they know there's going to be a blitz of media waiting outside their home. Better to hide somewhere in Israel and deal with it privately with family, with close family.
Martin, don't you think a lot of the divide in our world comes from our own ignorance, our own lack of education? It's jumping on social media, which is one of the worst things, right? You see the hatred and then someone jumps on and throws hate back to that same person. I mean, you have been on the front lines of some really horrible things. Ever fearing for your own life?
In my own life? I don't fear for my own life, no. Although, as a matter of fact, on my book tour, I'm going around various Jewish institutions, and there's extra security everywhere, I hope. And I don't fear for my own life. I would never cancel anything because of somebody's threats. I would rely on the American security services, the police and whoever else undercover in uniform. The Jewish organizations, I hope, have their own kind of security. So certainly we do in Britain, the Jewish places. So no, this is not a time to hide. This is not a time to worry about your life. This is a time to be rational, to be careful, to be seen and heard, and to stand up for our rights whichever country we're in. And that's not so easy in a place like Dagestan, where mobs of Muslims attacked a plane in the airport looking for Jews. They weren't looking, this is not about Israel. This is about anti-Semitism.
Yes.
And so, as a Jew, I have to be concerned, of course, but I don't have to hide and I don't have to run away. I need to stand up and be strong.
Well, and I think that's what people need to be more aware of. And that's where we always talk about getting out of your own way, being more present, offer up. I think at this point, what would you tell the human being that's watching this to say? Do we go out of our way and say, we support you? Because I think so much right now, people are walking, they're hiding, you can tell their confidence is down because they feel they're being judged.
I think people need to stand up and say, we're on your side. And I think that's a very welcome thing for Jews to hear. And by the way, not only Jews to hear, there's also, because of the whole situation, there's threats against Muslims too. And we have to stand up for them and say, we're on the side of everybody who is innocent and a civilian. I mean, a member of the American country, a citizen, has to feel safe. And that safety doesn't only come from the police. It comes from a feeling of community and support. And so this is a time where people who are being threatened, literally threatened, university campuses, Jews hiding in libraries while people pound on the door, awful stuff happening now that you never imagined would be possible in America or in Britain, where I come from. But it is possible, and it is happening. So this is a time when people need to say, we're with you, unless they're not with us. Then let's find out.
Well, and then let's have a conversation. Let's be civil. I mean, we've got people here that hold a political title that I know that spoke out. I'm not going to say he or she, doesn't matter, because you'll know who I'm talking about. So the person spoke out right away and was criticizing that there was any type of a retaliation. But how does the human mind not go to Hamas attacked, and we're just going to take it, and you're just going to say that it's okay? So whatever side you are on, whatever your beliefs are, right now it is getting to the hatred. It's not trying to attack, and I think that's where they were coming from. But innocent lives and civilians, their lives could be taken. Yes, but we're trying to get to where the hate started from, right?
Yeah, well, you'll never just, you're absolutely right, but you'll never persuade anybody on the other side. One of the problems is that because of social media, because of history, because of the ignorance that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
You can't persuade the other side. They're not listening. The world has changed. It used to be that that truth was the one thing that we could use as a guiding light, a beacon. You find out what the truth is, and you make a decision based on that. But today, my truth is not their truth. Right. And they're not listening. And by the way, I'm not listening to them just as much. I mean, you can't persuade me that it's okay to massacre, rape, and kill anybody, but they believe for some reason that it's justified. So I'll never believe them, and they'll never believe me. It doesn't matter how rational we are. And that's the divide in America, and basically in many countries, unfortunately.
Martin, being in the business that we are in, I worked in television news for 18 years. I was in radio for 12 years. I stepped away finally in January because I just thought, the images that people are seeing, especially now, and you try to turn away from it, and then you go to your phone and it's all over social media. What that does, another level of mental health, illness, PTSD, because you can't erase that, the images that you're seeing. You're not there experiencing it, but you almost feel like you are, and you can't wipe it away. And you can't put your head in the sand and say it's not happening around you. But I think a lot of people, Martin, are saying, well, what can we do? How can we help? So
my answer to that is what I do, which is get off social media. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm reporting for NBC, actually I'm not reporting. I'm kind of a talking head these days, a pundit. Which is, I always used to look at people like me and think, oh, another guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Give me a break. And there I am. Hopefully I do know what I'm talking about on this subject anyway.
Yes.
But the videos that are going around the social media, the horrific stuff that Hamas is putting out, and now the Israeli government is putting them out too. They're showing the Hamas. It's all about what Hamas did. Hamas is proud of it. Israel's using the same videos to say how horrific they are, but there's lots of it on social media. And I know my wife is scrolling all the time. She's Israeli, and I haven't seen one of those videos, even though I'm reporting on it, even though it's my job to know what's going on. I know what's going on. It's horrific stuff, so I don't need to see all that video. And the minute people start telling me about, oh, they cut off the foot of this baby, stop, yep. Please stop. I don't want to know.
Exactly.
Don't tell me. I'm protecting myself, because I know that I'm very sensitive and vulnerable to these kinds of things, despite my experience. That's who I am. And I think people definitely suffer. And yes, absolutely. social media use of these images and repetition all the time of horrific stuff will psychologically damage many people who are looking at it all the time. There's no doubt about it. Today, I mean, people say to me always, the places you've been and the things you've done and seen, do you have post-traumatic stress? Maybe I do. But people looking at that stuff, it's only one stage removed from reality.
Right.
They will get PTSD. I mean, there's going to be a lot of psychological damage. And by the way, people always talk about Israel as being a whole country that's got PTSD anyway from all the stuff they've been through. And probably the Palestinians in Gaza certainly will have as well. So there's, the main answer to this, I think, is if you don't want PTSD, get off social media.
Yes, that's a very powerful statement, and that's really that I want you to think about that, because again, it's in your face and it's going to be for a while. If you want to know a little bit, you have to figure out what's your appetite. Do you want the full course? Well, then be ready for the feelings thereafter, right? So exactly. PTSD, mental health, all those things continue, and it's all clickbait. Understand that. They want you to click on it, and they want to take you down this rabbit hole. And you said it, we got into this field. I've been in it for 30 years. You've been in how many years, Martin?
Let's forget about that. Longer than you. Much longer than you.
We got into it, and we took a journalistic creed, true journalism. It doesn't exist anymore. It's a shell of itself, and now it's this opinion that way, this opinion that way. It depends on what network you're turning on. It's just what they want to feed you, and I don't know. And I couldn't do it anymore. That's why I got out of it. And this show is all about what can we do, not throw it in your face and then turn and go into a break and come back and just move on. It's really what can we do? What can we do as human beings? How do we find kindness? Before we go to the break, I know the protests are happening in different areas, and it's unfortunate, but again, it's trying to find our way to love each other again, to find some kindness again, to listen. Really, that's what it is listen to someone who thinks different than you do. You're coming in for the Jewish Book Festival. You're in person for this, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I know Rebecca had mentioned to me that she's hoping to be, but she may have to Skype in. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the coming days. I would hope that we're still able to hold it and that it's not going to be postponed. As you mentioned, Martin, it's a matter of having security. That's just the way the world is right now. But I don't want people to fear coming, because there's incredible messages from so many of these authors. Have you been to St. Louis?
Have I what, sorry?
Have you been to St. Louis?
Oh, yeah, I've been a few times. The
Okay.
book festival is very kind to me.
Oh, we've been very kind. That's good to hear. Anything that stood out from your past visits?
First of all, the people are fantastic. The people I met in the Jewish, it's a big event in St. Louis, the Jewish Book Festival, and I'm proud to be part of it. And they're very keen. And so one thing that did stand out to me, though, I remember in one of my books, it was about the war in Bosnia, and there were a lot of Bosnians in St. Louis, I believe.
Yes.
And
Huge community.
And huge community. So they held an event for me in one of their restaurants. So it was a wonderful, because the book was about Bosnia and war reporting. And I was there. I spent a lot of time there in Bosnia during the war, and Croatia and all of them. And so they had this big event in a restaurant, fantastic food, great people. We were drinking and laughing. And I was saying, wait a minute, this book's kind of a sad book. And we're all laughing and having a wonderful time. I remember the Bosnian
we have to
community.
go through all the emotions, don't we? We find our way to all of it. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that St. Louis treated you well, and I hope they do so again and come out. We're going to talk about the book. We're going to take a break. It's called Teachers, The Ones I Can't Forget. Martin Fletcher, and by the way, the National Jewish Book Award winner, and the foreword is by someone I have respected all of my career, Tom Brokaw. We'll talk more with Martin Fletcher when we return.
Carroll House Furniture is growing and hiring for many positions. Drive to success, delivering concierge service and setup in customer homes.
Enjoy teamwork in our clean, organized warehouse where Carroll House stocks for fast, free delivery.
Associates sell more and make more with 3.5 acres of choices in stock, infinite custom orders, plus the lowest prices in the country.
If you like top pay and the best benefits in St. Louis, you'll love working here.
So if you like nice things, join the Carroll House Furniture family.
of course, it's great to get outside and enjoy the warm weather, but when it's time to relax indoors, be sure your home stays cool with equipment and service from my friends at Aldon. 24-hour emergency service available. At Aldon, it's their commitment to continue providing above and beyond HVAC service for all of their customers. They truly care about the air you breathe. Call them today at 314-567-5585 or on the web, aldon.com. That's al-don.com. 314-567-5585. Welcome back once again to the Real Monica Adams Show, and it's real topics, real what aspects are happening in the world. We talk about those things, and we have been. If you just tuned in, please go back and listen. Martin Fletcher is my guest, and maybe you've seen him on NBC recently, BBC, Reuters, war correspondent, author. The book we're talking about is Teachers, the Ones I Can't Forget. And Tom Brokaw says this is vintage you. Fletcher as reporter, empathizer, documentarian, historian, proud to be your friend, your colleague, and student. I have forever respected that man, Martin. I love that, and he says some incredible things about you. You and Tom have known each other for a long, long time.
Actually, I'm having tea with him this afternoon.
Oh, well, tell him I said hi.
I will.
Your book, again, people might see the cover. And when I was deciding who did I want to have on the show that's going to be at the Jewish Book Festival, this one jumped out because of what you've seen, what you've covered, the stories you've painted for us in your incredible coverage. But when you see Teachers, some people might look at the book and go, oh, Teachers, is it the people that led him to a journalism career? No, it's the ones that you would have never thought would become a teacher to you. And I love the pictures that are in here as well. And the one little girl, how do you pronounce her name? Is it Evelyn or Eveline?
Eveline.
Eveline. And she's in this, she's the one in the red, and her parents had AIDS and they died. But she's also HIV positive, right?
Yep.
And all of the stories that you tell of what their life is like at such a young age. I mean, these children shouldn't know something like that. Tell her story for us.
Well, as you said, Evelyn, she's 8 years old. Parents died of AIDS. She's HIV positive. She lives in an orphanage. And the thing that struck me about her was when I saw her school book. She's a lovely, polite, quiet child, gentle and everything you could, beautiful little child. And in her school book, under the exercise book, under the name of the school, she didn't write School of, Kampala Junior High or something. She wrote School of Struggle. And under the class, she didn't write maths or geography or something. She wrote Class of Hope. School of Struggle, Class of Hope. 8-year-old girl, HIV positive. So, I mean, for me, that was just unforgettable. And what I learned from her, of course, was the resilience, which was the message of the book, really, because from everybody, just staying in there and hoping and living your life and living your best life. I know it's a cliche, but that's what the child was doing. School of Struggle, Class of Hope. Such wisdom from an 8-year-old girl. So
And that's what I was just going to say, Martin. We never know where we're going to learn the lessons of life. And when we think, it's so easy to cast stones at the younger generation, isn't it? Oh, these kids, or they're doing this, or this generation. People will use the word worthless. No. I mean, here you are learning from an 8-year-old child and calling her a teacher.
Absolutely. And she is one of my teachers. She's one of my, always, I never forgot this kid. Still today, it gives me a shiver when I think about her, when I talk about her. By the way, when she said class of hope, so I said, what do you hope to be? And she said, I want to be a pilot.
Really?
So, yeah.
One question about these particular teachers. Do you in any way have an opportunity to stay in touch in any way? These teachers you speak about, do you have a connection still?
Probably only with one, but because she was in Uganda, other people are in Somalia. I got these lessons from all over Kosovo, around the world. So no, I haven't really, and some of them was some time ago. But for instance, I tried to find out for the book whether Evelyn actually became a pilot.
Yes, that's what I wanted to know.
Yes, no, and I couldn't find out, unfortunately. I got in touch with the orphanage. I got in touch with her teachers. but nobody knew what happened to Evelyn, so I don't know.
Well, we hope she's still okay. That's the first thing.
Actually, I also got hold of the Pilots Association list of Uganda. You know, they have private pilots and they have airline pilots, but her name wasn't there.
Come on, Evelyn. We want you to fly. Fly high.
Yeah, maybe she's watching.
Yes. Well, I tell you what, Martin, that's the one beautiful thing about these shows. We have people that are watching in Africa. We had people that told me that they were Philippines, in Italy. And then that's the thing that I love. It's depending on who we have on the show, it's far reaching. And that's what we need, right? We need to do that. I also loved your teacher 3, Rasha Hammond. Tell me about Rasha.
Rasha was a Palestinian girl, also amazing. When she was 6 years old, she was abandoned by her parents because she was blind and autistic, and was basically. And then she's Muslim. Then she was saved by Christian missionaries in near Jerusalem in the West Bank. They looked after her. And then when she was 12, they noticed her tapping along with the music. And she was one of these autistic people who just sort of sit there in the corner rocking by herself and not really communicating. And they say, whoa, she's tapping to music. Maybe that's the way through. And so this Muslim girl who was looked after by Christian missionaries was then sent to an Orthodox Jewish piano teacher. And now they actually give concerts together. Rasha, the blind autistic pianist, and her Orthodox Jewish piano teacher give concerts. It's amazing. And so the picture of her, the smile on her face, surrounded by the music and the notes, is like, it was also a wonderful thing. And that was, I guess, the lesson there probably was, hands across borders, Muslims, Christians, Jews together, changing one person's life. We can all do that.
That's it. You just gave me a chill. I mean, that's literally what we're trying to do here. Besides the descriptions of the teachers that you have, I mentioned the pictures. I mean, it had to be difficult in all your years of all of your coverage of, first of all, just to pick the ones. There's probably more. I mean, you could continue with more and more teachers, but narrowing it down to the teachers that you chose to feature and these pictures. Tell me about that process.
Well, first of all, I didn't intend to write a book. This was never supposed to be a book. This was all about the pictures. Yeah, this was all about the pictures. I wanted to create these images that would just the image alone would give you evoke an emotion. I wanted to do something different. I've written 6 books before, and trust me, it's hard work. And even harder than writing the book is selling the thing, and then promoting it. Oh my God! So that whole thing, I said, okay, I want to do something different, and I went towards these pictures, which are basically freeze frames from my news coverage, and then I would get them digitally edit them to create something different. And I thought I was just going to have a photo exhibit somewhere, maybe on some gallery in New York for a weekend. In fact, it took off. I don't know whether you know this, but the pictures, the 11 of them, were exhibited in Christie's in New York for 2 weeks at the auction house. They had a special exhibition and a big event just for these images. And then it's just finished in Miami. Now it's going to Houston and it's going to LA. So the pictures themselves were, they were the start of the whole idea. And I didn't want to describe it. I just wanted to have pictures like paintings. You don't have the artist, and you say, what's it all about? But then everybody said, what's it all about? Because they're so journalistic in nature, of course, the pictures. So then I wrote one paragraph, and then I just kept writing, and it became the book. And the book itself, I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to do another 350-page book. I wanted to do something short, visual. The printing is slightly larger than usual, small, short chapters. I wanted the book to be accessible to people who don't normally necessarily read books, especially young people. Right. Because as you know, the book itself has this message, which is a very positive message. The difficult stories, but the message from the book is, we can keep going. We can start again. Life is not too much for us. And for many people, it may appear that way. So I wanted the book to appeal to people who don't normally read books, frankly. I mean, anybody who does read books, I think will love it. But also it should be accessible to people who don't normally read books. And that's why it looks the way it does.
Well, and I love it because it gives you hope. It gives you possibility. And I think it makes you look at your own life and think, my teacher could be my grandchild. My teacher could be my child. My teacher could be a person that's prison right now that has turned their life around. I mean, that's it. I want you to see your own life in this. And it's just amazing. There's another one, and I don't want to give them all away, but teach your age, and you say, misogynist alert. But again, there's so much. I want you to come out and see Martin at the Jewish Book Festival. You're actually opening up the festival, aren't you?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. And tickets are available, and it's going to kick off on Sunday, so just a couple of days away. You'll be able to see Martin Fletcher, Rebecca Minkoff, and so many other incredible authors. If you've never been, I've covered the Jewish Book Festival for many, many years in my career, and it is phenomenal. So thank you for being a part of it. I look forward to St. Louis treating you well again.
Thank you very much, Monica. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Martin Fletcher, again, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for all your coverage, by the way.
Thank you.
That's Martin Fletcher. And again, the book is Teachers, the ones he will not forget, the ones I can't forget. So come on out to the Jewish Book Festival. We'll give you all the information, again, how you can get tickets, and authors, I mean, galore that you will love. You'll want to probably go to every single one of them once you see the full list. I want to thank you for tuning in today, again, with Rebecca and with Martin. And to all of you, you've heard about it. Hope and possibility, fearless, believing in yourself. The whole message of today's show is all about, again, believing and having hope and possibilities in your own life. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. And as I always tell you, go out, be anything you want to be in this world, but please, before you're anything, be kind. God bless you all. Invita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Invita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Invita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Invita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment, or online, invitahealthandwellness.com.